Alright, so let's switch to some leadership. As you hopefully saw some leadership this weekend from yourselves and from around you, any wilderness or remote location experience should start with a leadership discussion. In the event of an emergency, effective leadership can be the difference between safely handling a mishap and a tragic outcome. Leadership plays a large role in the wilderness and remote first aid course as well. Wilderness and remote first aid course participants learn and practice leadership skills as they take part in the scenarios and other activities. Instructors must also use leadership skills to keep the outdoor learning environment safe and effective. To be most effective, wilderness and remote first aid instructors need a basic understanding of leadership. Because of the wilderness and remote first aid courses based on experiential learning, an important part of your role as an instructor is to help participants reflect and learn from their experiences. Engaging participants to reflect on their experience, also known as processing or debriefing, allows participants to formulate a deeper understanding of the knowledge and skills covered during the course. That's because the reflection process gives participants a chance to describe their experiences in their own terms. They listen and learn from other experiences and incorporate them with prior knowledge. This approach is often more effective than conventional approaches to teaching. As an instructor, you need to engage in activities that allow participants to make connections between prior knowledge, course content, and their actions in each scenario, and actions throughout the course. There are many formal activities that allow participants to reflect on their experiences throughout the Wilderness and Remote First Aid course. Example, during the shouted out activities or the scenario follow-ups. In many instances, questions and topics for your reflection activities are provided in the instructor's manual. In some instances, you may need to push beyond what is provided in the instructor's manual to help participants draw upon and learn from their own experiences. However, it is equally important to remain aware that the course activities build on one another. Too much time spent on one activity may make it difficult to finish within the established time frame. For example, you may choose to debrief after critical mistakes and take advantage of the opportunity to promote immediate learning and prevent the establishment of bad habits, sometimes referred to as teachable moments. As you debrief an experience, encourage participants to make learning connections for themselves as opposed to you telling them what to think. In addition to the facilitation techniques you learn in your Fundamentals of Instructors training course, which is a part of this course, you learn the what, so what, now what. When you're conducting a reflection, you want to use open-ended questions to explore what participants learn from the scenario. Start a reflection session by asking, what? Questions aimed at getting participants to provide concrete information about their experience. What are some examples of what questions? They could be, what happened? What did you do during the scenario? Or what did you see during the scenario? You can supplement participants' recollections by using your notes from the Wilderness and Remote First Aid Competency Check Sheet or a personal notebook. Then you move on to so what questions. So what questions ask participants to describe the significance of their concrete experiences. What are some examples of this? Well, it could be, what actions helped the leader better respond to the emergency, and why? Or, what were the consequences of maybe sending someone for help without the car keys, or staying exposed to rain, or not asking questions before she passed out? You may also ask probing questions to encourage participants to dig more deeply for understanding. The now what questions ask participants to apply their knowledge to the future situations and enter the planning stage. The goal here is to encourage participants to use the knowledge from their previous experience to plan for the next similar experience. During any debriefing session, avoid doing all the talking and telling participants what they learned. Do not let one person dominate the discussion. Consider using debriefing techniques that will give participants interesting ways to process the experience. For example, have participants write down their thoughts in a course journal, or assign a group member to observe the scenario, and have the observer share his or her findings with the group. The debriefing session is an opportunity for you to give positive, constructive feedback based on what you observed. Now, leadership is also in the outdoors. One of the main elements to leading a safe and effective outdoor learning experience is taking steps to properly prepare for the event. Before the course begins, help participants prepare for being outdoors. Make sure participants know that a significant portion of the course takes place outdoors by communicating this through course promotion and informational materials. You can also provide course participants with a list of appropriate equipment or clothing to bring. Inform participants of the types of physical activities involved in the course, such as hiking, standing outside, and kneeling, and encourage them to talk with their healthcare providers if they have any doubts about their ability to participate. Before leading a course, become familiar with the course location and identify any hazards such as water, uneven or steep terrain, deadfall, dead tree branches suspended in the canopy that could fall and injure a participant, or wildlife. Do not conduct any course activities in unsafe areas. Example, in areas where hunting takes place during hunting season. From our course experience, I had the opportunity to go back into the woods and check out the ropes course and make sure that we weren't going to be playing on it too much. I also took a look at the stream and thought about the possibilities of getting somebody wet on purpose and then also accidentally. So, if reaching the location of the course or scenario requires hiking, you should be sure that the terrain and distance are appropriate for participants' abilities. Keep in mind that participants will need to carry their own equipment, although this can be modified if necessary to meet the needs of individual participants. Provide participants with any necessary maps for before or during the course. When leading groups outdoors, model safe and responsible leadership. You want to file a pre-trip plan with a responsible person or the local authorities before heading into the wilderness or remote location, and share this document with the group. In our case, I made sure that a couple of our participants knew that I was talking to the Kent State Police Department to let them know that we would be training and using moulage and the different locations we would be. You also want to make sure you have an emergency plan and share it with the group. Carry an appropriately stocked first aid kit. Know the local weather forecast and have a plan to deal with changing weather conditions, including how to create fire and shelter when it is cold and or wet. Have an escape route, emergency contact, and a means of communication. And be prepared for course activities. For example, your hiking pack should include moulage supplies, a radio or cell phone, and any necessary instructional materials. Changes in the environment, such as the terrain becoming steeper, or changes in the group, such as group members becoming fatigued, are likely in any outdoor setting. When accounted for, these factors help make the wilderness and remote first aid course realistic, but they can potentially affect course safety when they are not held in check. As an instructor, you need to continually assess the group, including yourself, and the environment for any changes that could affect the safety of course participants. Remember, this is not a wilderness survival experience, but a first aid learning experience. As you assess the group and environment, take corrective actions if necessary to minimize or remove the risk. In some cases, this may mean modifying or suspending activity. In other cases, this may mean discontinuing activity altogether. In this case, you should be prepared to continue in a safe alternate location. As a wilderness and remote first aid instructor, it is your responsibility to stop any activity before it becomes unsafe. For weather-related issues, use the Inclement Weather Course Safety Guide in Appendix 3.15 of the Instructor's Manual to help determine when to cancel a course activity.